Amna was born in a small town where life moved slowly, and people rarely dared to dream beyond what they could see. From the very beginning, she was a curious child. Her eyes would light up at the smallest things, watching birds take flight, feeling the wind on her face and running across the fields near her home. She had an energy that could not be contained, and a heart that seemed bigger than the little house she lived in. But the world around her was not ready to see a girl like her as anything more than ordinary. Her family loved her deeply, especially her mother, who would often watch her run barefoot across the fields and smile. Her father, though a quiet man, would shake his head at her stubbornness but never stopped her. He believed in giving her space to explore, even when the neighbors whispered behind their backs. "Let her be," he would say. "She has a spirit that will not break." But outside the safety of her home, the town had its own rules. Girls were expected to stay in certain places, to follow certain paths, and to limit their ambitions to what society considered acceptable. And Amna's dreams were far beyond those limits. From a very young age, she loved running. She did not need a track or fancy shoes. The dirt roads and open fields were enough for her. She would wake up before sunrise, tie her hair back, and start running. At first, it was just for fun, but soon, it became her escape. When she ran, she felt free. Free from the whispers, free from the doubts, free from the pressure to conform. The world felt lighter when she moved, and with every step she imagined herself going somewhere bigger, somewhere people would believe in her. School was another place where her difference became apparent. She was bright and energetic, but the teachers often overlooked her abilities. They would tell her things like, "Girls don't usually compete in sports," or "Focus on your studies, that is more important." Some teachers said it kindly, others said it without care, but every word chipped away at her confidence. Even her classmates laughed at her sometimes, teasing her for wanting to run fast or imagine things bigger than their small town. At first, these words hurt Amna. She wondered why her dreams seemed too big for the people around her. She questioned herself quietly in the nights when the house was dark and everyone else slept. "Maybe they are right," she thought. "Maybe I cannot do it." But then she would remember the feeling she got when she ran, how the wind rushed past her face, how her heart pounded with excitement, and how the world seemed to open up just for her. That feeling reminded her of the fire inside, a fire that refused to die no matter how cold the world around her became. Her determination grew silently. While other children played games or followed the expectations of their parents and teachers, Amna ran. She ran when it was hot, when it rained, when the road was muddy. Sometimes she would race against boys who were bigger and stronger, and she would be laughed at when she fell behind. Yet she kept going. With every fall, she learned something new about herself. She learned about patience, about endurance, and about the quiet strength that grows when no one is watching. Her mother often watched her from the window, a mix of worry and pride in her eyes. "You will make it, my little one," she whispered when Amna returned home exhausted but happy. "Even if no one believes in you, I do." Those words were like seeds planted in her heart. They grew slowly, giving her roots that anchored her to her dream even when the storms of doubt raged around her. Despite the criticism, Amna found ways to keep herself motivated. She would watch videos of great runners and imagine herself in their place. She read stories of people who had fought against the odds, who had been told they could not, but had gone on to achieve greatness. She would close her eyes and picture herself standing tall, winning races, and making her small town proud. It was a vision that kept her moving forward even on the hardest days. One day, when she was around 10, she decided to enter a small local race organized at her school. The other children laughed when they saw her sign up, especially the boys, who were known to be faster. "You will fall behind," they said. "You cannot keep up." But Amna ignored them. On the day of the race, she stood at the starting line, feeling her heart race faster than usual. She looked around at the other children and felt a mixture of fear and excitement. When the whistle blew, she ran with everything she had. The wind brushed her face, the ground pounded under her feet, and for a few glorious moments, she was free. She did not win that race. In fact, she came last. The laughter of others reached her ears and she felt the sting of disappointment. But instead of giving up, she smiled quietly to herself. She realized something important that day. It was not about winning yet. It was about proving to herself that she could try, that even if no one else believed in her, she could still believe in herself. And that belief, she understood, was the first step toward changing the world around her. From that day onward, Amna ran not just for fun but for a purpose. Every morning she ran a little farther, a little faster. She faced teasing, doubts, and occasional injuries, but each challenge only strengthened her resolve. She started to keep a small notebook where she recorded her times, her feelings, and her dreams. It became her companion, a silent witness to her journey. Amna's story in those early years was not about fame or recognition. It was about resilience, about nurturing a small flame of hope in a world that often tried to extinguish it. It was about understanding that sometimes the greatest victories are won in silence, long before anyone applauds. In those fields, on those dirt roads, Amna began building the foundation of a legend that one day would not just be known in her town, but far beyond it. And so, the girl whom no one believed in continued to run. She ran not for others, not for approval, but for herself. Every morning, every step, every fall, and every rise became a story of courage. The town might have doubted her, the teachers might have ignored her, and the children might have laughed at her dreams, but Amna carried on. Little did she know the journey she had begun alone would one day lead her to someone who would finally believe in her, and that belief would change everything. As Amna grew older, life seemed to test her in ways she had not imagined. The girl who ran barefoot across fields now faced the harsh reality of a world that did not yet understand her. The teasing at school became sharper, and the doubts from teachers grew louder. They often said, "You are wasting your time," or "Girls like you should focus on studies, not sports." Even some of her classmates who once ignored her now whispered behind her back, questioning why she insisted on chasing a dream that seemed impossible. Amna felt the weight of their words, but she also felt something else, an inner strength that refused to break. She remembered the mornings she had spent running alone, the wind brushing her face, the earth under her feet, and the joy of feeling free. Those memories became her shield against the negativity around her. Whenever someone told her she could not, she ran faster, imagining herself proving them wrong. However, life was not always kind. At the next school competition, she faced another test of her spirit. The race was organized on a proper track this time, with more children participating. Amna had been practicing for weeks, pushing herself beyond her limits. But when the race began, chaos surrounded her. Some boys shoved her from the side and the referees ignored it. By the time she finished, she was exhausted and humiliated. She had given her best, yet no one noticed. Her classmates laughed, some teachers frowned, and she walked home with heavy feet and a heavier heart. That evening, she sat by the small pond near her home, dipping her fingers into the cool water, letting her mind drift. "Why does it feel like no matter how hard I try, no one sees me?" she whispered to herself. The thought of giving up crossed her mind, a thought that had never been so tempting before. She felt small, like a single leaf struggling to float on a fast-moving river. But even in that moment of doubt, she realized something important. Her dream was hers, not theirs. The fire in her heart was her own, and no one else could take it away. Amna's family noticed her struggle. Her mother, who had always been her biggest supporter, sat beside her that night and held her hand. "I know it is hard," she said softly. "People may not understand you, but that does not mean you are wrong. Sometimes the world takes time to see what is truly special. Keep going, my child. You are stronger than you think." Her father nodded in agreement, adding, "Strength is not about what others say. It is about what you believe in. You are capable of more than they can imagine." Encouraged by her family, Amna decided to keep going, but she knew she needed more than determination alone. She started running longer distances, waking up before dawn every day, even when her body begged for rest. She practiced in the rain, in the scorching sun, and even in the cold, treating every challenge as a lesson. Her notebook, which she had started years ago, became a detailed record of her progress. She wrote down her times, her feelings, and small goals she wanted to achieve. These pages became a source of hope and a silent witness to her journey. Despite all her efforts, life continued to throw obstacles in her path. One day, during a school event, she tripped and fell badly while running. She scraped her knees, bruised her elbows, and felt pain radiating through her legs. Some students laughed, calling her clumsy, while others whispered that she should give up. But Amna did not cry. She sat on the ground for a moment, feeling the sting of the fall, then slowly stood up and continued her run, limping slightly but refusing to stop. That fall, though painful, taught her an important lesson. Strength is not the absence of pain, but the courage to rise despite it. Her determination began to catch the attention of a few quiet supporters. Some classmates started admiring her persistence, though they did not say it out loud. Even a few teachers who had once dismissed her noticed her unwavering commitment. "She may surprise us someday," one teacher whispered quietly to another. But the majority still doubted her abilities, and that made her journey lonely. Amna's loneliness became both a challenge and a source of strength. She learned to find joy in small victories. The morning she ran a little faster, the evening she completed a distance she had never run before, or the day she managed to keep going despite exhaustion. Each small achievement reminded her that progress did not always need applause. Sometimes the most important victories were personal, quiet, and unseen. One afternoon, while running along the dusty road near her home, she noticed a group of boys from her school racing each other. They laughed and pushed each other, but when she joined, their laughter turned into mockery. "You cannot keep up," they shouted. But Amna ignored them. She ran alongside them, pushing herself harder than ever. When she crossed the finish line, though she did not win, she felt something even stronger than victory. She felt proud. She had faced ridicule, ignored doubt, and yet she had not given up. Amna also began experimenting with ways to improve her speed and endurance. She studied techniques from books she borrowed from the library and tried exercises she saw in old magazines. She learned to control her breathing, pace herself, and observe the rhythm of her steps. Each day, her running became more than a hobby. It became a skill, a craft that she was quietly mastering while others laughed and ignored her. Her community still largely doubted her. Some neighbors whispered about how she wasted her time, how she would never become anything. Others, especially older women, shook their heads and said, "Let the girl be, she will learn the limits of her strength soon enough." But Amna did not let their opinions define her. Instead, she used them as fuel, transforming negativity into motivation. Every mocking word became a step forward, every doubtful look a reason to push harder. Through all the struggles, Amna's spirit remained unbroken. She knew that talent alone was not enough. She needed guidance, discipline, and someone who could help her navigate the challenges ahead. But at this stage, she did not know that such a person existed. For now, she ran, alone, silently building the foundation for what would become her journey to greatness. The road was long and the obstacles were many, but with each step, Amna moved closer to proving, first to herself and then to the world, that no one could limit her if she refused to be limited. In those years of struggle and setbacks, Amna learned the most important lesson of all: belief begins within. The world may doubt, may laugh, or may even try to stop you, but the fire inside cannot be extinguished by anyone but yourself. She kept running, kept dreaming, and kept believing, even when no one else did. And little did she know, her perseverance would soon catch the attention of someone who would change everything. Someone who would finally see the potential that had been hidden in plain sight. One early morning, as Amna ran along the familiar dusty road near her home, something unusual happened. A man was standing by the edge of the field, watching her carefully. He was not young, but there was a quiet strength in his posture, a calmness in his eyes. His name was Coach Kareem, a retired athlete who had once been known for his speed and skill in running. He had moved to the town recently and was looking for young talent to nurture. Most people in the village ignored him, but he had a sharp, eye for recognizing potential, and something about Amna caught his attention immediately. For several days he observed her silently from a distance. He noticed how she ran with a combination of raw energy and determination that was rare to see. Unlike other children, she did not tire easily, and despite the teasing and doubts, she continued to push herself. Coach Kareem saw not just a girl running, but a spirit that refused to give up, a determination that could grow into greatness if guided correctly. Finally, one morning, after watching her finish her usual run, he approached her. "You have talent," he said simply. Amna, startled, slowed down. No one had ever said that to her before. People had laughed, criticized, or ignored her, but no one had ever believed she could achieve something extraordinary. She looked at him cautiously. "Talent?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. I don't think so." Coach Kareem smiled gently. "I have seen many runners, many children who think they are fast. But you are different. You run not because someone watches, not because you want to prove anyone wrong, but because it is part of you. That is real talent. With the right guidance, you can go far." Amna felt a mix of emotions, hope, fear, and excitement all at once. She had spent so many years alone, facing doubt and ridicule. And now a stranger was telling her she had potential. Could it really be true? She wanted to believe, but a small voice inside her warned her not to trust too quickly. Still, something about Coach Kareem's calm confidence made her feel safe, like she had finally met someone who understood her. Over the next few weeks, Amna began spending time with him after her morning runs. Coach Kareem taught her about proper running techniques, breathing, and endurance. He introduced simple exercises to strengthen her legs and improve her speed. At first, it was hard. Amna was used to running freely without structure. Following instructions, doing drills, and keeping track of her performance was a new experience. But Coach Kareem was patient. He encouraged her gently, celebrated small improvements, and reminded her that progress takes time. "Running is not just about speed," he explained one morning. "It is about understanding your body, knowing your limits, and pushing them carefully. You have the heart of a runner, Amna, but we need to turn that heart into skill." Amna absorbed everything he said. Each day she felt herself growing stronger, faster, and more confident. What was once a passion driven by raw determination was now becoming a craft. She started waking up earlier, running longer distances, and keeping detailed notes of her training. Coach Kareem also helped her set small, achievable goals, like improving her lap times, increasing her stamina, and learning to pace herself in races. These goals gave her a sense of direction she had never had before. As they trained together, Coach Kareem also shared stories from his own life. He told her about the challenges he had faced as a young athlete, the failures, injuries, and people who doubted him. Amna realized that even someone as skilled as him had struggled, and this made her feel less alone. She began to understand that setbacks were not signs of failure, but lessons to learn from. The bond between them grew, not just as coach and student, but as mentor and learner. She trusted him, and for the first time she truly believed in herself. Amna's new training routine started showing results quickly. In local competitions, she began performing better than ever before. She still faced some skepticism from teachers and peers, but their voices became background noise. Her focus was now on the guidance of someone who believed in her. With Coach Kareem's encouragement, she ran with purpose, precision, and growing confidence. Every race she participated in became a chance to apply what she had learned, and every success, no matter how small, built her self-belief. One day, after a particularly exhausting training session, Coach Kareem sat her down and said, "Amna, talent alone is not enough. You have to believe that you can push beyond limits, that every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to your dream. And remember, it is okay to fail sometimes. What matters is that you rise again." These words struck a chord deep within Amna. She realized that her journey, though lonely at first, was now guided by someone who not only believed in her, but also gave her the tools to succeed. With his mentorship, she felt a growing sense of purpose. Running was no longer just an escape. It was a path toward something greater. As weeks turned into months, Amna's improvement became noticeable. Her endurance increased, her speed improved, and her confidence soared. Coach Kareem began entering her into bigger competitions, regional meets where the stakes were higher and the competition tougher. At first, she felt nervous and out of place. The other athletes were experienced and well-trained. But she remembered everything she had learned, the breathing techniques, pacing, and most importantly, believing in herself. With each race, she gained not just experience, but proof that she could compete. The villagers began to notice the changes too. Some who had once mocked her now watched silently, curiosity replacing doubt. "She seems faster," a neighbor whispered one day. Another said, "She has changed. There is something different about her." Amna did not care about their opinions, but inside, she felt a quiet satisfaction. She knew that the journey she had started alone was beginning to show results, thanks to the belief and guidance of one person. Coach Kareem remained by her side through every challenge, reminding her that success was a combination of heart, skill, and perseverance. He pushed her when she was tired, celebrated her victories, and comforted her during setbacks. With his support, Amna began to dream bigger than ever before. She started imagining herself winning national competitions, representing her town, and proving to everyone that one person's belief could change a life. Through their training sessions, Amna learned the most important lesson of all. It was not about being the fastest or winning every race immediately. It was about consistency, discipline, and believing in herself even when no one else did. The partnership with Coach Kareem transformed her raw determination into skillful mastery, and slowly, the girl who no one had believed in began to see herself as someone capable of greatness. For the first time, Amna felt that her dream was no longer just a fantasy. She had a path, a plan, and someone who truly believed in her. The lonely runs, the doubts, and the struggles were no longer obstacles. They were steps leading her toward a future full of possibilities. And she knew deep inside that her journey was just beginning. Amna's first regional competition was approaching, and she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness she had never experienced before. With Coach Kareem by her side, she knew she was prepared. Yet the thought of competing against trained athletes from other towns made her heart race. The night before the race, she barely slept, replaying the steps, the techniques, and the encouragement she had received in her mind. Coach Kareem reminded her gently, "You have done the work, Amna. Trust yourself and let your feet speak." When the morning arrived, the stadium buzzed with energy. The stands were filled with cheering families, coaches, and spectators. Amna felt a surge of both fear and determination. As she stepped onto the track, she noticed the other runners, some confident, some experienced, some tall and muscular. For a moment, doubt crept in, whispering that she might not be good enough. But then she remembered the countless mornings she had run alone, the miles she had conquered in silence, and the belief that Coach Kareem had instilled in her. She took a deep breath, focused on her rhythm, and waited for the whistle. The race began, and the sound of pounding feet filled the stadium. Amna pushed herself with every step, feeling the wind against her face and her heart beating fast. The other runners tried to pull ahead, but she kept her pace, trusting the training she had undergone. Halfway through, her legs began to ache, and fatigue threatened to slow her down. Doubt tried to creep in again, but she shut it out, focusing on one step at a time. She remembered Coach Kareem's words. "It is not about the first lap or the second. It is about keeping going until the finish, believing in yourself until the last step." In the final stretch, Amna felt a burst of energy she did not know she had. She sprinted with everything left in her body, and for the first time in her life, she crossed the finish line not last but in the top 5. The applause from the crowd was overwhelming, and her teammates and Coach Kareem cheered with pride. She had not won the race, but the experience was transformative. Amna realized that her hard work and perseverance were beginning to show results. She had faced fear, competition, and doubt, and had emerged stronger. Over the next few months, Amna continued to compete in regional competitions. Each event brought new challenges, faster opponents, longer races, and tougher conditions. But she grew with every experience. She learned to pace herself, to manage pressure, and to stay focused even when others tried to intimidate her. The Rico, once lonely girl who ran barefoot in fields, was now running with purpose, skill, and growing confidence. As her victories accumulated, people in her town began to take notice. Neighbors who once doubted her now watched silently, some even whispering words of admiration. "She is amazing," one parent said. "I never thought she could do it." Some teachers who had dismissed her early on started to encourage her quietly. But for Amna, these opinions were no longer the goal. Her motivation came from within, from the love of running, from the belief that she could achieve something extraordinary. However, the journey was not without obstacles. Injuries, fatigue, and occasional losses reminded her that success was never guaranteed. There were days when she felt weak, when her muscles ached, and when the weight of expectations pressed down on her. Yet every setback became a lesson. She learned the importance of rest, of listening to her body, and of maintaining balance. Coach Kareem guided her through these difficult moments, teaching her that resilience was just as important as talent. Amna also began inspiring other children in her town. Some girls who had once thought their dreams were too big now approached her, asking for advice and encouragement. She shared her experiences with them, telling them to believe in themselves and to keep moving forward despite doubt. Slowly, a small community of young dreamers began to form around her, motivated by the girl who had once been doubted by everyone. By the time she qualified for national-level competitions, Amna had transformed completely. She was no longer the quiet, hesitant girl who ran alone in the fields. She was a determined athlete, confident and capable, ready to face new challenges. The journey that had begun with doubt and ridicule had now brought her to the threshold of recognition and achievement. In those national competitions, Amna faced athletes with years of professional training, strong teams, and enormous experience. Yet she approached every race with calm determination. She focused on her training, her pace, and her belief in herself. Race after race, she improved, her name slowly gaining respect among competitors and spectators alike. When she stood on the podium with a medal in her hand, she remembered the early mornings, the falls, the injuries, and the doubts. She realized that every step of the journey had prepared her for this moment. Amna had become more than just a successful runner. She had become a symbol of perseverance. Her story spread beyond her town, reaching people who had never met her. Children, especially girls, looked up to her as proof that determination and belief in oneself could overcome even the harshest doubts. Amna knew that she had not achieved this alone. Coach Kareem's guidance, her family's support, and her own unwavering spirit had all contributed to her success. Standing on the stage, draped in the national colors, Amna felt a mix of pride and gratitude. She thought of every person who had doubted her, every challenge she had faced, and every fall she had endured. But most importantly, she thought of the one person who had believed in her when no one else did. Coach Kareem had shown her the path, nurtured her talent, and helped transform her raw potential into skill. Amna's story became a legend in her own town and beyond. She traveled to speak to young athletes, sharing her journey of resilience, dedication, and the power of belief. She emphasized that success was not just about winning medals, but about believing in oneself, even when the world did not. Her journey inspired countless others to pursue their dreams, to rise above doubt, and to never give up. The barefoot girl who had once been ignored and laughed at had become a symbol of hope and courage. She proved that talent combined with determination and guidance could overcome even the strongest disbelief. Amna's life was a testament to the fact that one person's belief can change another person's destiny forever. She continued to train, compete, and inspire, but she never forgot the lessons of her early years. Every morning she ran, she remembered. The fields where she had first discovered her love for running, the lonely paths where she had faced doubt and the person who had believed in her when no one else did. Those memories fueled her spirit, reminding her that greatness was not just about medals but about the journey, the struggle, and the courage to keep moving forward. Amna's legend was not just her victories. It was the story of resilience, mentorship, and the power of belief. She became a living example that dreams, no matter how impossible they seemed, could come true with perseverance, support, and unwavering faith in oneself.